Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. We went live this morning, had a good conversation, talked about a lot. Then I went and ran for an hour and a half with the magic weighted vest. Dropped about 3-4 videos, and I got to go vacuum the car and get ready for my boys to come home. But look, man, let's jump right into it. Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr., man, that's the fight that we need to be talking about, man. We're talking about Devin Haney, a technically gifted fighter, a guy like Brian Norman Jr., who's raw, who's talented, who just has the momentum going. And I don't know if the technical gifts that Devin Haney has, if that's going to be enough to defeat Brian Norman Jr. But what I'll say is this. Let's just start with the truth, all right? Devin is a special fighter. He's special. Because he's the type of fighter who's mastered the art of boxing before he became a man. He turned pro, 15, 16 or something? He turned pro young, okay? But one thing about that, although he's been fighting for a long time, he's not a brawler. He wants to fight you, but he's not a brawler. He's not a one-punch knockout artist. He's not even a high-risk showman like a guy like Roy Jones or young Floyd. Haney is, no kidding, like a boxing purist. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is fundamentals in skill. A boxing technician in an era where chaos sells more than craft. However, Haney's been able to figure out a way to sell himself, even though he's not all about the drama and the mash-up, crash-up. Now, what I think separates Devin Haney from most fighters is his discipline and intentionality in every single punch. Every jab has a purpose, every step is calculated, every feint has meaning. He's not fighting his opponent's body, he's fighting their minds and trying to break you down so he can win the psychological warfare. Now let's talk about his offense, right? Everybody has something to say about his offense. Hey, Haney's fists are devoid of power. Okay, whatever. But his offense isn't built around power. It's built around precision. His jab is one of the cleanest in the sports. Like they used to say back in the day, got the best jab in the business. Larry Holmes right there. Fast jab, educated jab, disruptive jab. It's not a jab meant to hurt you. It's meant to control you. And when Devin Haney has that jab working, he controls his opponents. And we've seen that across 30-plus fights. Once he establishes that jab, he dictates the geography of the fight and controls the ring. He uses a lead hand trap jab, meaning he'll flick it high to lift your guard and shoot straight right down the middle. See it all the time. And when you react to that, he shifts to the jab to the body, forcing you to drop your level. That's when he resets your rhythm and starts timing your responses. It's a game of manipulation, not brutality, and a game that he's really to play with Brian Norman Jr. because most people feel Brian Norman Jr. is just trying to bring brutality into the fight. And we know if that's all you're bringing against Devin Haney, you're not going to win. You got to bring more than just brutality, brute force, and maximum violence. The good thing about Brian Norman Jr. is, he brings more than that. But the problem is just Devin Haney, man, his right hand is so sharp. So sharp. But the real magic comes from his left hook counter, which is what we've been seeing him training on. Left hook counter, left hook, left hook, left hook. And when he gets that going, he likes to pivot, he likes to step left, and snap that hook over your lazy jab. He rarely overcommits. He's surgical, and I think he's going to be even more cautious in this fight with Brian Norman Jr. because he can't afford to make mistakes, overcommit, get anxious, because Brian Norman Jr. has the kind of power to destabilize and tranquilize you. And Devin Haney and his dad can say what they want, but they know Brian Norman Jr. is a real threat and is a real problem. So I expect Devin Haney to come out there to try to be precise, be surgical, be smart, try to control the tempo to a pace to where he's comfortable. If not, shit could be timber. But I'll just say this, right? Another underrated part of Haney's offense, right? Just looking at his fights, is his inside control. Now, I don't know how well he's going to be able to control the inside against Brian Norman Jr., but Haney doesn't bang on the inside, he'll tie you up. pushes you off and resets immediately. And that frustrates pressure fighters. Against a guy like Brian Norman Jr., it's going to be crucial that Devin can be successful with that. Now, can Devin be successful with the inside control against Brian Norman Jr.? I don't know. Brian Norman Jr. is a strong guy. We did see Brian Norman Jr. kind of taekwondo, Steven Seagal, hip toss, judo toss. Devin Haney, 7'2", goddamn, what do they call him? Security guard. All I'm saying is good luck with trying to establish inside control. But if Devin Haney can do it, you're going to create some great moments for him. Now the thing is, his pops, Beijing Bill. Beijing Bill, you got to give some respect to him. He's a strategist, smart guy, likes to keep Devin Haney's name and his name out there in social media. I saw his ass was on Vlad TV. Bill, you made it. Out there chilling. But you got to put some respect on old man Haney, because he is really taking care of his son, man, and he understands the business of boxing. He understands marketing. So I think with Bill Haney, you can say he's the general behind the general. You know what I'm saying? He's the 4-star. Devin is probably the 2, 3-star. Bill isn't just old father, old pop. Bill is the strategist, a psychologist, a public relations manager. He's all of that in one. You swear that man was from the Caribbean with all them jobs he had and shit. He built Devin's mindset from scratch, from the days they went to Mexico just to get fights, to the way they studied legends like Mayweather, Pernell Whitaker, and Sugar Ray Leonard. Bill crafted Devin's identity as a thinking fighter, boxer, puncher, mover, an IQ first type fighter. But Bill's philosophy is pretty damn simple. You don't need to fight every round, you just need to win every round. And that's why Haney doesn't fight emotionally like Virgil Ortiz. He doesn't chase knockouts. He breaks you down mentally, slowly, round after round. But I'm going to tell you, that approach is going to get tested against Brian Norman Jr. I don't know how well that works, because Brian Norman Jr., he can sit there and dictate and control tempos and get rounds in the bag if Devin Haney is running and moving and not trying to engage, because depending on the judges, they may not like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's because Brian Norman Jr. is a problem. Y'all can say what he wants. Brian Norman Jr. is fast, explosive, unpredictable, strong, and he's mean. He don't care if he hits Devin and turns him into a Puerto Rican and Devin starts dancing salsa in the ring because his equilibrium is off. Brian Norman Jr. is not going to say, hey, ref, go get him, he's hurt. He's gonna exterminate him. Devin Haney's going to be out of there. He's the kind of guy who doesn't care about your IQ, doesn't care if you're missing teeth, doesn't care if you broke your foot, your leg. He doesn't care. Brian Norman Jr. is coming to test your chin. And if the referee don't save you, he don't care. And that's what you want in a fighter. Be mean, be nefarious. All about kill, kill, kill. I ain't going to say that too many times, because then Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th may show up in the crib. Brian Norman Jr. throwing with conviction. He ain't trying to kill you. He ain't throwing with caution. Matter of fact, he's cool with exchanging. You know what I'm saying? Because he'll punch you between your shots and you're going to land some. But can you take the heat when he gets his shots off? And more times than not, when he starts landing. The fight tempo starts to change to his favor. Them fighters don't like the way he hit. I'm telling you, man, Brian Norman Jr. is stronger. He has heavier hands. He's more physically aggressive than anyone Haney has fought. That's why I don't understand why he took this fight. I just don't understand. But Haney's got, he may have him Devin King Kong Haney, because he got big gorilla balls, you know what I'm saying? For getting in the ring with Brian Norman Jr., man. But, so how does Devin Haney win? I think he got to try to control that tempo. Haney can't let Norman turn this into a firefight, boy. He has to slow the pace with his jab. You got to pivot away from the ropes, make Norman chase air, make him look crazy, make him say, batty, batty, batty. When Norman lunges in, Haney needs to counter with single shots, not combinations, and clinch and move out. So Devin's got to be very careful, especially early in the fight. Do like his dad said, just win rounds. then the target selection is very critical, man. Haney's body work will be key. But you look at how Brian Norman Jr. is built, that dude ain't got no fat on him, man. Norman's offense comes from his legs. If Haney starts touching that body early, he'll drain the explosiveness that makes Norman dangerous. But, you know, if Devin ain't getting his hands back to make sure he has great defense, Norman can counter him. And remember, Norman Jr. has longer arms than Devin, so he could touch him. But I do think a stiff jab to the solar plexus can do just as much damage as a hook to the head over time. I'm telling you from experience, man, you get hit. I've destroyed people to the body, and I've been hit with body shot. I got hit with a body. I tell the story all the time. It's the only one that messed me up. I got hit with some shit and had that delayed reaction right when the bell rang. We were sparring. He didn't know. I got hit about 10 seconds before the bell rang. And I felt the shot, but nothing happened. Then right about maybe 6-7 seconds later, I felt the air leaving my body and the bell rang. That was the last third round of sparring. And I walked to the corner, stepped out the ring, went down. I walked towards the door. They were touching me on my gloves. I couldn't talk, but I was trying to conceal the fact that I couldn't breathe. I went outside, and then I was out there trying to get air. Nobody was with me, boy. I was dying. So I know what those stiff jabs to the solar plexus can do. If Devin can sustain that attack over the period of time to anybody, it's not a good feeling. I'm telling you that right now. So Devin Haney got to control that tempo. You got to focus on the body. And then there's the mental control, you know what I'm saying? Norman will talk, but he doesn't really say much. He may taunt a little bit, but again, he doesn't do much of that. But I do think he'll try to drag Haney into some kind of emotional exchange. I do think he'll try. That just comes with experience, learning how to do that. If Haney gets caught up in that, Devin Haney's ass is in danger. But if he stays calm and keeps that chess player focus, Norman will start swinging at shadows by round 6 because Devin's not going to be there to be hit. He may get booed. It may be like when he fought Ramirez. But at least Devin Haney will be surviving. Now, can he win the fight that way? I don't know. He definitely has to land some shots. And then the last thing, which is probably the most important, is just conditioning. You know what I'm saying? I think the conditioning is going to win this fight. It could come down to who can maintain focus under fire and who's in the best shape. You know, Haney's biggest weapon isn't speed or power, it's concentration. Most fighters can't stay locked in for more than 3 rounds. You know, Haney's locked in for all 12, and he's got great conditioning. So if Devin Haney can do that, those things I mentioned plus the conditioning, Devin Haney's, he has a great chance. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm arguing for one side or the other. I'm trying to talk both, but let's kind of play both sides. You know what I'm saying? If Devin Haney does win, drink some water, right? If he wins and he does convincingly, it's going to open the door for him to call out the elite of the welterweight division. You know, Rolly's got things going on. Mario Barros is probably who will go after Crockers over there in the UK. But you just don't know who's going to be champion here by the end of the year. And that's the thing. But I think Devin Haney would definitely try to go for a Barrios or a Crocker because fighting in the UK would be a big fight. So Devin Haney's got some things he can do. Teofimo's supposed to be fighting Shakir at 140. Who knows if that fight happens or not? Maybe Teofimo and Haney end up fighting. But the bottom line is Devin Haney's going to have a lot of options if he can beat Brian Norman Jr. New weight, higher stakes, and a lot more money. So winning this fight validates Haney's move up. It proves he's not just a big lightweight. He's a legit welterweight contender. He becomes a young veteran, but the new school boss of the division. And one thing to point out is Devin Haney should not be dehydrated at 147, so he should be able to absorb shots a lot better. And he should have more power. He should have that. But I'm just saying, man, you know, if he loses, shit's going to get dark for him real quick. Also for his father, Beijing Bill. Now, if Brian Norman Jr. beats him, that master boxer aura starts to fade, and Devin Haney, his career is basically over, in my opinion, because he can't go to 140. He obviously won't be able to handle 147, so he becomes the next Adrian Broner, just, you know, the king of the catchweight, probably fighting around 144. But people are going to just say Devin Haney was overrated. He's a hype job. He picked and chose his fights and cherry-picked, always had the advantages. Now he doesn't. He's getting exposed. They'll say he was never special, just protected by old man Bill Haney. The internet will turn on him overnight. What I'll tell you what, I'm not gonna turn on him. Even though I think he loses, I can't. I just feel it's bad that Ryan Garcia did him the way he did. But what I will say is, if Norman beats him convincingly, it could kill Devin's momentum for future big fights. Even worse, a knockout loss at 147 could make promoters and fans hesitant to believe that Haney belongs at 147 physically, kind of like what ended up happening to Adrian Broner over time. So Devin could find himself in a boxing limbo. Too big to go back down to 140, but not strong enough to handle 147-pound monsters like the guys who were there before, you know. The Ennis's, Ortiz, Stanley Eunice, man, a guy like Crawford, Earl Spence, even the Buteyevs who are out there, mean machines. So there are guys who are still there and guys who have left, even old man Pacquiao. It's just going to have people saying, nah, we're not sure Devin Haney can do the business at 147, even though a lot of those guys are gone or aren't fighting anymore. A lot of them are still here, and they're just not sure what Devin should do. I think he'll be the king of the catchweights. That's what I think. But this is what Devin's mentality will be tested the most, you know what I'm saying? Because he's not just fighting for belts anymore. He's fighting for validation. Fans have been criticizing Devin for years. They ain't been easy on him either, man. Calling him boring, pillow-fisted, calling him a no-gooder, a tail-wagger, saying he plays it safe. But that's because they don't understand the kind of genius they're watching. I truly believe people, if you think Devin is a horrible fighter, just go watch him against Lomachenko and break it down minute by minute. And tell me what you think there. Devin Haney is a good fighter, man. I just don't know. I just think his talent is invisible to casual eyes. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not about knockouts, it's about control. He's like a Formula One driver in a sport full of drag racers, you know what I'm saying? And what makes him special isn't his speed or reflexes, is that he makes the opponent fight his fight every single time. And that's greatness disguised as patience. I wonder if he can do that with Brian Norman Jr., so we just have to wait and see, man, because as we head into this fight with Brian Norman Jr., the story isn't just about who's faster, about who's stronger, or who's hungrier. I think this fight is it's about conditioning and who's smarter. Who's smarter in conditioning. Haney's got to prove that his IQ and his strategy beats the IQ and the chaos that Brian Norman Jr. brings in the ring. You know, Haney's got to show intelligence, composure, and focus can overcome raw strength and emotion. Now, if he does that, if he beats Norman clean, you know what I'm saying? This might be the fight where fans finally start to appreciate how special Devin really is and get beyond the Ryan Garcia, catastrophe that took place. And they can be like, yo, Devin really is the truth. Ryan just did him dirty. However, if not, this might be the night the illusion of perfection finally cracks. And people are going to say, oh, Devin has never been perfect. He's just been out here perfectly matching up against opponents, and that's why he's been able to do the business. So Devin's walking a tightrope, man. He's done it his whole career. So whether he rises or falls depends on if he can stay true to what makes him special. And that's being able to control a fight, show precision in his shots, and just have discipline. Do the things that you don't want to do like you love it, man. And against Norman, I think he'll be tested, and everything that he does great will be tested like never before. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Yo, I'm in the breeze.